Hey guys, alright, it's JP Cryptid here, my YouTube name. But if you follow me on Instagram or want to follow me on Instagram, it's going to be Splendid Betas. That's Splendid underscore Betas. And that's going to be on my Instagram page. And we're going to talk about a little bit about betas here. I've been on YouTube looking up some stuff and gotten just been watching a lot of videos and seeing some interesting comments and things going on. So I decided I can come in and throw my hat in there and a little bit of beta keeping. And there goes a nice little spawn. It's one of my spawns. So there's a few of those guys. They're a few weeks old now, so they're getting good size on them. So, I guess one of the first things I want to say is keeping betas. I keep mines. These are 6-quart tubs right here, or 6-quart shoe boxes, which if you translate that into gallon, that's 1.5 gallons in all of these. So I keep my betas in 1.5 gallon containers. I like the 1.5 gallon. I actually like these. I've seen some breeders, they have these nice kind of special tubs that are a little bit tall like that, and they're 1 gallon. They love them. They keep their betas in there. I like those too. That's actually great. But I like these better for a few reasons. First thing is I can stack them. They're stackable. Obviously, I've got a bunch stacked there. I actually have drilled, I don't know, you can't see them there, but I've drilled a few holes here. So they have 2 holes, air exchange, and that's actually where I feed through. So I don't have to worry about much. Another reason why I like them, the length. So where those other ones that I was talking about are tall, these are long. So I get a good length in them. You can see here, length. So I get to keep, I make some of these, I make these for all of them. Well, most of them have this. I haven't finished quite yet. This is kind of a little hide for them. They like it. They go in and out of it, swim through it, or hang out. As you can see, that one right there is my white opal, constantly hanging out in there. He loves that. He's one of the ones who I pretty much can always count on being in that one. Him, and he's another one. He's not in there now. It's my rose gold male, but he's always in there pretty much. And I either can make those, or I have what I call as Tiki Man. See, that's a Tiki Man. I call it Tiki Man. It's like a fake plant. I call it Tiki Man because it actually kind of looks like a Tiki Man. See that? Pull it out here. Not making too much of a mess. And you see that? Kind of has the Tiki Man look to it. I call him Tiki Man. Got that in there with this this female Dumbo ear. But like I said, I like the length of this. You know, betas come. Yes, they do come from shallow pools or shallow areas of water. So they're not swimming up and down. They're kind of like the long, back and forth, the long swim, and this kind of emulates that a little bit better than some of the other things. You can keep them in 10-gallon tanks, 5-gallon tanks, whatever you want to do. Obviously, if you have, you know, breeders, keep them in smaller containers because of the fact that we have a lot more fish, and you can't have this many 10 or 15 or 20-gallon tanks lying around. Temperature, the room is heated. This room stays about 77 to 80 degrees, so this water stays pretty warm. I don't really have to worry about individual heaters for any of them. They're all pretty hot, and in fact, let me pull out this thermostat I have in one of my breeders right now, and you can see, I don't know if you can see it, let me try to, it might be too close, but 85 degrees, which actually is a little bit warm for me. I try to keep it about 80, between 80 and 82, so I probably just started getting hot. It was nice and cold not too long ago, and it just randomly, we didn't get a cool. We just went from cold to hot. It was like 40 degrees one day, and the next day 81. It's been 80 the last 2 days. So, you know, have to get that little adjustment going. But the other reason why I like these better than the other containers, I just can't find the containers. I don't know where they're at. I don't have access to those. I have access to these, so I use these instead. These are my breeding containers right here. And this one right here is where I got this spawn out from. Actually, I just scooped them out just so we can get a better look at some of them for now. But this is where they all go. Just gonna put them back in, and that's where all of those guys go. And actually, that is from my rose gold. He's up here. That's from that male. He's the one that did it. But next thing we'll talk about, like I said, you can keep betas in this. You can keep them if you want to. You want to keep, if you want one or two as pets, and you want to get a 10 and 10 for each one, do that. That's great. That's fantastic. Can a beta survive in a bowl? Sure, it can survive in a bowl. You can keep a human in a closet, right? You can stuff a human in a closet, and as long as he's got food and water, he'll be alive, right? But that doesn't mean that he's doing well. He's not getting all of things they need to grow properly and to be happy. So give them as much space as you can. Do not keep a beta in a bowl. It's hard to keep the water quality, and it's hard to keep the water temperature. I can't prove to you, or anyway, by looking at these fish, that these fish are not as happy as a fish, like say in a 10-gallon tank. They've got their fins open, they move around, they're pretty interactive, all of them. They're all alert and everything, and they all pay attention, just like a fish in a 10-gallon tank. So I couldn't tell you who I can show you evidence that a 10-gallon tank is better than 1 gallon. There is no way. But I can assure you, if you look at a fish in a bowl or in a cup or any one of those little containers that you find in some of these stores, you will see the difference in how happy the fish are. Next thing, I didn't even know this was a thing until recently. Beta sororities. You can't keep they're pretty. They set off massive debates amongst people between keeping females in beta sororities or not. And you know what? Up until recently, I didn't even know that was a thing. When I was growing up, we had beta sororities too. You know what? They were called community tanks. You could keep female betas in a community tank, kind of like the ones I have down here. Here's one of my community tanks right here. You know, got it planted. This is a 20-gallon long. It's got some nice plants in there. We've got this cool sea dragon, which, you know, it's not real, but I love it anyway. Got this cool sea dragon. Got some platies in there. Actually, the platies keep having babies, so I gotta kind of cut back on that. But I've got, you know, some, I've got a Mexican dwarf crawfish or crayfish or whatever you want to call it. I've got a ghost shrimp. I've even got some pea puffers in there. And you going down and give it a good look. There is, oh, here she is right here. I do have some female betas. Yes, you can keep female betas in groups in a sorority tank. We've done it plenty of times. It used to be called a community tank. You go into any pet store and they had female betas in the tanks by themselves. The only things that were kept separate were the males. I have here, this is my oxalotl tank, my salamander tank. So guys, cool. I just shut the light off, but there's a couple oxalotls in there. But as you can see, pet shops used to keep the females together all the time. And I'm talking about big groups, you know, 10, 20, 30 fish sometime. And tanks as small as 10-gallon tanks. You got these 10-gallon tanks, 20-gallon tanks. You know, everybody is going to freak out, but guess what? Pet stores or pet shops, they don't keep these fish in the most ideal situations. They're mostly holding containers or holding tanks to get these fish sold. So, yeah, you know, you go to a pet store and there's 20 angels in a 10-gallon tank. They're just there to be sold. There's no difference. Female betas were always kept in community tanks or in display tanks. And growing up, me and most of my friends always had females in community tanks. Not just strictly to betas, but to all fish. Yes, you do have to keep an eye on it. Yes, if there's someone being aggressive or overly aggressive, yes, you may have to take that fish out. Animals, unfortunately, don't always behave the way we want them to behave. You might be able to put in 5, 6 females in a community tank and be perfectly fine, and you might get one where these females just will not get along. That's not just betas, that's all fish. That's pretty much all animals. I mean, you could put a tank with 10 angelfish. You might get a nice 55, 75, 100-gallon tank, throw in 5, 6 angels and think you're great, and you might get some angels fighting. That's just, you know, all fish are like that. All animals are like that. You're never going to know. So sorority tanks were always a thing. People always kept sorority tanks, except we didn't call them that. We called them community tanks. The only things that were kept separate were males. Let's see what else. Oh, the name. I keep hearing people laugh at people calling them Siamese fighting fish. They go, oh, they're betas. Oh, people call them the wrong name. Well, guess what? They're also Siamese fighting fish. That's their common name. You're calling them betas. If you want to call them betas, that's fine. Betas technically aren't correct either. Beta is the genus name, actually, not the species name. There are tons of different types of betas. So you calling the fish a beta is kind of half right, just the way someone calling it a fighting fish is half right. Let's not get on people by calling fake names, okay? We have more important things to worry about than if we're going to call it a beta or a fighting fish. Specifically, keeping them in bowls. Let's kind of get away from that, worry about that instead of worrying about whether you should call it a beta or a fighting fish, okay? And with that, we'll just kind of go through some of the fish here. These guys kind of, as soon as I come up with the camera, these guys are always coming up to me. They're always, I mean, I don't know if they're looking for food, being a little bit territorial, or a combination of the two, or just being good old-fashioned nosy. And you know what? One of the other things, since we're on the name thing, fighting fish, just the reason why they're called fighting fish, or one of the things that makes them fighting fish, males are extremely territorial and aggressive toward each other. Two males will definitely fight. Even a male and female will fight, and yes, sometimes the females can be overly aggressive with each other. But just because they're called fighting fish doesn't mean that you can't put them in a tank with other things. I keep hearing, or sometimes people will come over, or I'll see people, and they say, oh yeah, you can't put fighting fish with Oscars, you can't put fighting fish with this because fighting fish will kill them. They're too aggressive. You know what? A fighting fish cannot kill an Oscar. An Oscar will eat a fighting fish, okay? Can you put a fighting fish with guppies? Probably not. Fighting fish might eat the guppies, but that's not just fighting fish. You know what? An angelfish will eat the guppies too. Like any fish, and like I was saying before, you want to keep an eye on all the fish. But any fish, that doesn't just mean just fighting fish. You know what? Angelfish might eat guppies, so you're not going to put fighting fish with guppies. You want to keep an eye on that. You don't want to put fighting fish with tiger barbs or anything like that. The tiger barbs might nip at the fins. You're definitely not going to put a fighting fish or a beta with an Oscar. The Oscar's going to eat it, right? But sure, you know, you get some platies or you want to get some tetras or something, just keep an eye on it. It should be fine. Fighting fish do well in communities too. They probably do well specifically because when you put them in a 10-gallon or 20-gallon community tank, they finally get the heat that they need and the space that they need and the interaction that they need to be happy and healthy. So yeah, fighting fish would be a really good fish in the community tank. Just be careful what you're putting them with. And that's not just for fighting fish, that's all fish, right? You just want to always be careful, make sure the fish you have are compatible. And even if other people are doing something or a book says you can do something, guess what? Fish can't read, and they're not reading the same books that you're reading, and they don't care. They're going to do their own thing. Okay, so just keep an eye on your fish. Make sure the water stays clean, not too hot, but not too cold. Keep it warm, and your fish will be fine. Alright, check out my Instagram page too, Splendid Betta. Thanks, guys.